Hello and welcome to another Smaulgld live stream. Today is September 5th. It is Wednesday, 2018. Tonight's topic, Silver Eagles sell out at the U.S. Mint. And India steps up its gold imports in August. Looks like the precious metals markets are coming to life. But before we get into that, let's take a look at the precious metals market and a brief overview of what happened during the day. Gold and silver retraced a little bit of their losses. Silver managed to climb up to 14.19 after opening up around 14.14, got as low as 14.08. A bit of a rebound there. Gold almost got itself to 1200, closed the day at around 11.96, up from around 11.93 earlier in the day. And the stock markets were pretty much flat, although NASDAQ had a bad day, mostly on the results of, I think, Facebook and Twitter took a bit of a hit today because they were on Capitol Hill and they were speaking to senators about, I thought they were going to speak about censorship, but they didn't. They were asking questions about how do you make sure you're not talking to a Russian online? How do you make sure you're not getting fake news? And Sandberg from Facebook was talking about how they've got fact checkers and how they'll show you, quote, alternative facts. So, and the other thing was, I think there was some type of dust up between Alex Jones and Marco Rubio. You can watch all that online. There's plenty of places you can see that. Also today, later in the day, there was a supposed New York Times, this is a first, I think, an op-ed written by an anonymous person claiming to be a White House official. And that the reason he was doing this op-ed anonymously was he was afraid he was going to lose his job or her job. And the point of view of the writer was that Trump is amoral and that there's people at the White House that are trying to stymie the Trump agenda. So that's the latest story of the media going after Trump, this time using a op-ed anonymous writer. Very interesting tactic there. All right, let's get into the top stories of the day, which are, we got a double topic tonight. Silver Eagles sell out at the U.S. Mint, and India steps up its gold imports in August. Let's look at the U.S. Mint numbers. I just started redoing the charts and covering the monthly Silver Eagle and Silver and Gold Eagle and American Gold Buffalo and the America the Beautiful coin numbers, because they're starting to move higher and it's not very interesting to make charts that just show a flat line. So last month in August we saw a very big increase, tick up to 1.53 million American Silver Eagles. You can go back and check out, there's a blog post on that. We went through the charts. And that was the biggest month since January, when the U.S. Mint sold to authorized purchasers 3.235 million. But this year, U.S. Mint sales have been down, even with that increase in August, down about 40% from last year's. And last year, the U.S. Mint only sold about 18 million, and that was down from 2016's 37 million and down from 2015's 47 million. So we saw a big decrease in American Silver Eagle sales, and they came to life in October, not in a dramatic way, but 1.53 million was pretty good because in May they'd only sold 380,000. And one of the things I mentioned in that video from a couple of days ago was, did the 1.53 million sold in August merely reflect authorized purchasers buying because they had them in buying the last 3 months and essentially buying for the rest of the year? Because remember, what the authorized purchasers buy do not necessarily reflect in a given month retail sales, because the authorized purchasers replenish their inventory and they could be buying now to sell to their on sale to their other bullion dealers who then sell to retail customers for the next 3 or 4 months. So what I said at the time, just a couple of days ago, we'll need to see if there's sell-through, meaning if there's more sales, million plus or more than that, in September, to see if this isn't just inventory restocking or if this reflects authorized purchasers actually buying because they're buying subject to demand that's coming in from retail, and they need to keep buying. And one of the things I mentioned was that the earlier in the year we saw, and we did a video on this too, there had been a discount for people who would be able to buy pre-2018 American Silver Eagles, because there was some selling back to the bullion dealers, and they were paying a lower premium. So some of the online dealers may have been paying 50 cents over spot, $1 over spot for American Silver Eagles, and as a result, they're able to sell them back to their customers at prices lower than $2 over spot. And that was leading to have more sales in backdated Silver Eagles than in the current 2018. And that was keeping the sales of 2018 American Silver Eagles low, because for the most part, American Silver Eagles are fungible. And for most people, unless they're looking to be completists and have one of every year, if you can get a 2016 or 17 at $1.89 over spot as opposed to $2.69 over spot for 2018, many people were buying the older ones. Then I heard wind from some dealers that they were running out of those coins, the bargain priced pre-2018, and not necessarily that there was a big uptick in demand, but they were able to satisfy the current demand from the prior year coins, and they weren't really needing to restock their shelves of the 2018. Well, it seems like we've got our answer as to what has been happening. So that 1.5 million in sales last month, which was an increase, not a dramatic increase, but a pretty big uptick, it appears that that was real, and that the authorized purchasers were buying not just to make sure they had enough for the rest of the year, but because they saw the demand coming in from their buyers, who then sell to the retail customers. Just a quick word on authorized purchasers. The only one that I know of that's actually an online dealer that's also an authorized purchaser is APMEX. I believe they're an authorized purchaser, so they get to buy from the U.S. Mint at $2 per coin over spot. That's the law. Not the law, but that's the arrangement, that the U.S. Mint always sells Silver Eagles at $2 over spot, no matter what the spot price of silver is. And that's why the premiums on Silver Eagles for current dated ones are always over $2, because not even APMEX is going to sell them at $2, because that's what they paid for them. They need to make some money. And then a lot of silver bullion dealers also, they might buy from APMEX or one of the other authorized purchasers. So you're not going to get something much lower than 2.25, because they're not working for nothing. There's already thin margins. So those dealers, they have to charge more. And it looks like now they don't have the secondary market to rely on to meet the demand. It looks like there's a bigger demand now coming in for silver, because the price now has dropped dramatically. Remember, we opened the year, we were in the 17, we almost got to $18 this year, and now at $14. And we've talked about this on the channel. Silver Eagle sales, silver sales, retail generally increase when the price is falling rapidly or the price is dropping rapidly. And right now we've had a series of about 6 weeks where the price has been steadily declining, and people are seeing this now as a buying opportunity. So here's the news. In August, the U.S. Mint sold 1.53 million Silver Eagles to authorized purchasers. In the first 4 days of 2018, in September, they sold 1,037,500. And then they put out this notice. Subject, dated September 5th, 2018. American Silver Eagle bullion coins temporarily sold out. This is to inform you that due to a recent increase in demand, the United States Mint has temporarily sold out of its inventories of 2018 American Eagle silver bullion coins. Presumably this letter, I obtained this from Silver Doctors, was written to one of the authorized purchasers and probably passed along to Silver Doctors because they purchase from the authorized purchasers. All orders received prior to this communication shall be honored and settled according to pre-agreed upon value date arrangements. The United States Mint is in the process of producing additional 2018 American Silver Eagle Bullion coins. We will make these coins available for sale shortly. Please let me know if you have any additional questions. Signed, Jack A. Shirjaban, Branch Chief, Bullion Directorate, U.S. Mint. Now what this does is, since it looks like, and I haven't done I'll probably do this when we get off, go through the top 5-10 bullion dealers online and see what their inventory is. But this is where what you're looking at on your chart now is a premium chart. This is from APMEX, and I started keeping track of this in the spring of 2015. You can see I caught it just before that big spike. I had this chart commissioned by Nick Laird at Gold Charts Are Us because I sensed that there was a very big year in 2015. And I thought, what would happen if they actually sold out of American Silver Eagles? Wouldn't the premiums skyrocket? And as you can see, they went up to 50%. And the reason I was thinking about that was I had learned a year or so earlier that the U.S. Mint doesn't keep on hand silver in a form that's ready to make into Silver Eagles. This is why I don't believe the J.P. Morgan story, because the U.S. Mint has to get the silver blanks. They're called planchets. They get them from 3 different private companies. One of them is Sunshine Minting. They send them 1 ounce rounds blank, and then, or they're called blanks too, the U.S. Mint slaps on the front the Walking Lady Liberty, and on the back they put the Silver Eagle. So it would make sense to have that arrangement and then charge authorized purchasers $2 and then melt them back down. But that's a different story. The point is that knowing that that's the arrangement and they were selling massive amounts all year, I anticipated that they might run out because there's bottlenecks in this type of business where you're relying on third party. They're not part of the government. They have the silver. Everybody thought it was a silver shortage. It wasn't. It was a silver round shortage. And it's the same thing happening today. They got caught flat-footed. They didn't expect the price to drop so fast, because remember, when the price drops fast, it's almost as night follows day, the demand picks up. Same if the price had gone from 17 to 23. You'd see people bursting down the doors to buy because their fear of missing out on the way up. And here they're thinking this is the biggest bargain of all time, especially with the gold-silver ratio. Many people believe that you see that gold-silver ratio heading so high, it's unsustainable. So right now you do have I would think the ingredients for a buying frenzy, because many people are conditioned to believe that when the gold-silver ratio gets to a certain point, it's just simply unsustainable. And no matter what the circumstances are, silver related to gold, it's the bargain you got to buy. And there's other people who, not only do they believe that the gold-silver ratio is unsustainable, they think that these lower prices are about as low as you're going to get, so they want to capture that. And then there's people who only believe that these low prices are a bargain, and they're not really so much concerned about the gold-silver ratio. That's nice to know too. So I think you do have now, and you've seen it at the U.S. Mint, a very big surge in Silver Eagle prices. I also think they sold 1.37 million today, not necessarily because they're on pace to sell, if they were to sell 800,000 a day, they would sell, over the 20-day period, they might sell 15, 16 million in the month. I don't think that's because they're on pace to sell that. I think they authorized purchasers got these letters or knew something was up, and they put in their final orders, and that topped them out. We'll see what happens when the next time the U.S. Mint reports when they're ready to start shipping again and selling to authorized purchasers. Well, I would imagine the longer that they wait, the more you're going to see an increase in, you're looking at the chart here, on premiums. Now, you can tell yourself that, well, the Silver Eagles are in short supply, I better get them now. That might, not giving you investment advice, you do what you want, but there's not a Silver Eagle shortage as far as I can tell. And I don't think that there's going to be a silver shortage this year, but there will be a shortage of Silver Eagles to buy probably in the coming days. And the premiums will probably go higher because the bullion dealers will ratchet up the price. Now the question is, do you need the Silver Eagles now? You may say to yourself it's worth the premium, because if this keeps up, the price is going to go right back up to 15 or 16. All this buying frenzy, media attention, maybe that'll drive the price up and you want to have your premium. But just keep in mind that right now the single coin premium at APMEX is 25% over the spot price of silver. So that's a pretty big deal. And you might be able to find bargains on generic silver that have lower premiums. What happens, though, if there is, like in the case of 2015, when there really was massive demand, but right now we're not if there's massive demand, it's only materialized in the past few days. In 2015, it was building all year. You saw steady, big numbers. Then you can't even, you have to pay a premium on the rounds because companies like Sunshine Minting, who are making the blanks for the U.S. Mint, are the ones that also make a very big seller generic round, and they don't know whether they need to make more generic rounds to sell to their customers, whether they need to satisfy the U.S. Mint, and then basically they're in overdrive, and so then the round prices also go higher. So it'll be interesting to see how long this surge lasts. I'd imagine if the price stays low, the surge may continue. If the price goes lower, the surge may continue. And if the price just keeps going up, let's say today it goes up and it just goes up every day, it could be in a position now where there's been pent-up demand, because what's happened over the past few years is a lot of people have thrown the towel in and thought this thing's not moving anywhere, it doesn't go anywhere, and they haven't been buying for that reason. And now there's a potential, like we saw at the end of 2015, that when the thing bottoms out, that's when people continue to buy. But we'll have to see. Let's see if there's anything else. Well, if you look on this chart here, I think I'll take it down, you get the point. Normally what happens is, and I mentioned this, if you look at the end of 2016, 17, and 18, there generally is a spike in premium just because the dealers are running out of that year's coin and the premium rises. But you could see now the premiums have been rising for the last few months at the end of 2018. So just something to keep in mind. I do publish this chart from time to time if indeed you're interested. Now, let's take a look. I think that's it on the bullion. Just to update you on the gold sales, there weren't anything particular, 3,500. That's not bad, because if they sell 3,500 every few days, they'll sell the 25,000, 30,000 coins that they've been selling for the last few months at the U.S. Mint. But the real interest now is in the pickup of silver sales. I think we can close that out. All right, now let's move on to the situation in India. One of the things I've been talking about, and I haven't spent as much time on the gold, is the dramatic increase in silver imports into India the past this year, actually. And you can go back and check out those videos that we've done on Indian silver imports. And I was mentioning that the Indian silver imports this year mirror the Indian silver imports in 2015. And what do you have in common this year with 2015? Declining prices. I think the 2015 opened in the 1880 range and ended up at the 1290 range, something around that. As the price dropped, India imported more. India imports most of its silver and almost all of its gold, not much in the way of domestic mining production. And we're seeing the same now with silver imports in 2018 in India. Now, gold imports, you can't really count on them as much to move with the price, because the Indian government is far more involved in trying to curtail the gold coming into the country. They've got a lot of initiatives going on, a goods and services tax of a few percent. They have an import duty of 10% on gold. They have these gold monetization schemes going on. We covered that just a couple of days ago as well. One of the charts I want to show before we get into the imports of gold into India and why they're on the rise is this one chart. It's only through 2017, but it does highlight what we talk about with India and its percentage of imports. Overall, Indian imports are pretty amazing when you take into gold. So on the bottom, you have, on the top, you have the amount of gold that's imported into India. And this only goes to June 2018. And in that June month, you got 59, about 60 tons of gold. And so you can see that to the far right, that's 60 tons where it is. In some months, the Indians have imported almost 170 tons of gold in 2013. But that's not the interest that we're interested in. If you go down to the next one, monthly gold imports as a percentage of total Indian imports, you can see some months it's generally around 8 or 9, 10% of total imports. And some months it goes as high as 16, 17, 18%. That messes up with the Indians' balance of trade, and that's why they don't like the gold imports to go too high. Now, right now, this chart doesn't go through 2018. This is another Nick Laird chart, gold chart through us. I got to ask him why we don't have the 2018 percentage, but I guess they're probably about the same, given the imports have been pretty consistent the last 12 months. So we're probably in the 8 to 10% range. Although we mentioned the other night that they're thinking about lowering the imports, so maybe the balance of trade is a little more favorable, and they can allow more gold to come into the country. All right, let's take a look at what these new developments are, though, in the gold importation into India. So this year, to date, through August, because I managed to get what Nick Laird gets from Gold Charts or Us, he goes directly to the Indian site and gets the official numbers. But we have unofficial numbers from Reuters for July and August. His go through June. And generally, I've been following their unofficial numbers for about 3 years now, and they're pretty close. Someone at Reuters manages to talk to somebody at the government and gets something close. So they're not official, but I think they're close enough. And what they're showing is well, let's just first show you the official numbers so far through June. All right, so what you're looking at now is just through June, and then I'm going to show you the July and August numbers. And nothing special. I mean, the last year, they're pretty much in line with other years, and last year was a pretty good year. So there you see June 2017, 53 million, and then June 2018, 59 million. Not a big increase, not a big drop off. No big deal. All right, let's look now at just a longer term chart through June. That'll be this one here, just so you get a sense of what comes in every month into India. This chart, you can see, same thing. It's not uncommon for India to do, this chart shows 2014 to 2018, to do 50 tons a month, to do 700, 800, 900 tons a month, to 900 tons a year in gold imports. And we did have 2016 was, you could see this narrow period in the middle of the chart where the monthly imports were only about 30, 40 tons, and part of that was due to the increase in price due to Brexit. The Indians are price sensitive. They didn't buy as much gold as they had done in the prior years, 2014 and 15, and then they picked up again in 2017, and they've continued in 2018. So let's take a look before we get into the most recent numbers at the Indian gold imports over the last 20 years. So this chart here is going to show you from 1999 to 2017. And there it is on your chart. It's working a lot better than last night. Okay, so you can see 2011 was the big year, 1,000 tons, 1,079 tons. And then 2017, last year, very strong year, 900 tons. 2015, 949 tons. 2012, 979 tons. 2010, 981 tons. Lots of years in the past since the financial crisis. Almost 1,000 tons of gold. Now, during that time period, average gold mining production is between 3,100 and 3,800. So India is pulling in about a third, just like they do with silver, about a third of the annual gold and silver mining production, eating up the demand for gold and silver. Now, the reason I like to focus on India And although I report on central banks are buying gold and what they buy, insignificant compared to what India buys every year. These are 900 months, 900 ton years. So in 3 years, you know, they're going to bring in close to 3,000 tons of gold. Here's why I think this is a big deal, and why what the central banks are doing is far less of a big deal. Let's take a look at the chart of the top 10 central bank gold holdings. So if we pull that up, do I have it there? Yeah, what I have here, I'm going to show you the top 11 to 20. So let's take a look at that first. Let's pull that up. And when you see that, you'll realize, wait a minute. The top 11 to 20 countries, overall gold, for example, Belgium, number 20, is 227 tons. Austria, 280. Spain, 281. UK, 310. Kazakhstan's got 340 now. Saudi Arabia, 322. Portugal, 382. India, the country, has the rank of India has 557. They just added another 8 tons, so they're like at 565. But if you go back to the other chart, the Indians themselves are importing 900 tons a month, more than any of these countries have in their total accumulation, their whole existence. But let's take a look now. Why I say this is not that big of a deal. Let's look at the top 10 most recent. I want to get the one that shows Russia's most recent purchases. If I can't get that, I'll get close enough. Yeah, let's pull up the one from July, which might not include Russia's most recent. But here's the top 10. Yeah, it doesn't have Russia up to 1982, but it doesn't matter. You get the point. You can see on these charts, Netherlands 613. That's all the gold that the Netherlands has, and in 1 year India brings in more. Japan 765 tons. That's the entire gold of the Bank of Japan. In a given year, India imports more than that. Switzerland, supposedly this big Swiss National Bank, big gold holding nation, only 1,040 tons. India brings in about that much in a year. People's Bank of China, not China is the country, because China is like Japan, India. Both countries probably have in their borders 20,000, 30,000 tons of gold. But the Central Bank of China, the People's Bank of China, lists 1843. Russia has under 2,000 tons of gold. And as we mentioned, 3 years of Indian imports, and you got more gold than that massive Russian gold hoard. This is why I don't believe the story that the U.S. doesn't have its 8,133 tons. Why? Well, Russia has less than 2,000 tons. Its gold hoard is worth $75 billion. Not a lot of money. And if the United States wanted to have gold or somehow lost gold, it could easily, I don't know why they would have lost it, they could easily go out and buy 2,000 tons over the course of 3 years. Just like India's done the past 3 years. It's not that hard to do. It doesn't move the price. So that's why I don't believe that story. The United States doesn't have gold. The only reason people believe it is because people tell the story so often that it becomes part of folklore. And because it hasn't been audited, they use that as proof, as a negative, that, well, if you haven't audited, it must mean you don't have it. And it doesn't mean that. Because I think if it was important for the U.S. to have the gold, there's no shortage of dollars that they can print up. They can find $77 billion and get 2,000 tons of gold pretty easily if they wanted to do it. And I think they don't do it because they don't want the dollar to be based on gold. That was the whole point of Nixon taking the U.S. off the gold standard. None of these countries are buying gold other than Russia and perhaps China because they're all in on the fiat system. They don't want this. They don't want their currencies based on gold because you can't create gold out of thin air and you can't create credit. So they downplay gold. But the Indian people don't downplay it. They're the ones who are importing massive amounts of gold. Let's see if we got some more charts for you. So that is your top 10. And even there, India imports top that in just a few short years. Let's get back to our Indian gold and see what else we got. All right. So we've seen the annual charts. We've seen the imports. Let's look at the last couple of years, what India's been doing. This chart is showing you, before I showed you the last 12 months, June to June, this chart shows you January 2017 through August 2017 and January 2018 through August 2018. And now you can see in the blue is 2017, the red is 2018. And this year, you can see January, February, March, April, all lower than the year before. Significantly lower. And even right now, while the last 3 months, June, July, and August, have moved ahead of 2017, we're still behind on a year-over-year comparative basis through August. So what's happening is last year, at this pace, at this time, at the end of August, the Indians had imported 626 tons. And at that pace, they eventually imported 901 tons. This year, they're at 541 versus the 626. They're down about 13% year over year. Now, it's possible if they continue to increase that this year the Indians may import 900 or more tons. They may indeed import another 1,000 tons this year. We'll see how it goes. But that was a big increase. This August is double last August, more than double. Last August was 46 tons. This August, 100 tons. It's a lot of gold going into India indeed. Now, see if we got any other charts here. Showed you that one, that one. I need to show you one through August, and I think, yeah, we do. Here's the last one, was the one I just showed you, I believe. Yep. All right, well, that about does it for our Indian update. Let's take a look at some of the comments we have. Oh, at the cryptocurrency, I did the gold and silver, did not mention a big smash down today. Wow. Bitcoin down 13%. We talked about this last night. I said you can't call Bitcoin or any of these things stores of value. I said they can go down 5-10% in a day. Well, Bitcoin 13% today. Bitcoin Cash 21% loss, 491 in the 24-hour period. Ethereum 25% loss at 214. Litecoin $54 at 19% decrease. So there you go. Now, supposedly the reason for that was that Goldman Sachs has put off its plans for a trading desk. Okay. So you go down 25%, but they're still thinking about doing custodial. I mean, this just shows that these things trade on nothing, on air. I mean, last year the things went from 8,000 to 20,000 in a few weeks, so who knows? All right. M. Brand, can you clarify Bick's weird statement? Caught report will show JP Morgan. I can't clarify because I didn't hear it, so I have to pass on commenting on that. What's up, SG, Centurion Silver? It's interesting. The only reports I find are unconfirmed reports from SD Bullion, Bixweir, and everybody is just parroting thereafter could easily be prop. Yes, but they did, and that's totally possible, and I would be guilty of repeating it if it's not true. But they did produce a letter dated the 5th. Now, it's not signed, but this is from SD Bullion. SD Bullion had the letter. And I would believe that's possible. I can't insist that it's true. But I would opt that it's probably true because sales have been so low for the past year. And they did pick up in August, and then we did see the report today, over 1 million in just 2 days worth of sales. So it's credible that they've run out. Now, that shouldn't mean anything for the price. It just means that they're caught short. I mean, I like to use the example, you're at a barbecue and there's not enough hamburgers. That doesn't mean everyone's going to starve. That doesn't mean there's a beef shortage. It just means they don't have enough hamburgers packaged into burger size to put on the grill, and then it takes, 10-15 minutes to cook a burger. It's not necessarily a big deal. And I think that's what happened last time. People who paid those 50% premiums because they were convinced that there was some type of silver shortage, when really what it was, there was a plant shortage. And the letter is not dramatic. It sounds like something they would write. They just increased demand. They say they've temporarily sold out of their inventory, and we hope to get the new coins available shortly. Now, when you put out these types of notices, it does get people interested. So people rush to buy, and it kind of creates its own feeding frenzy. That's possible. You never put it past someone to put out something to drum up sales. But in this case, I think it could be easily verifiable. I didn't have time to verify it. Happened later in the day. I'm sure somebody, I know one time there was some issue, and I think it was Steve St. Angelo. He actually called the source and he got the information and he verified or debunked the story or whatever it is. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow and call the mint and find out what the story is. But anyway, that's the story that's out there, and you're right. That's what happens in alternative financial media, and there's not a lot of checking, says Centuria Silver. So I'll put that down. I'll check that myself. Going back in history, this happens every season since 2014. Yeah, and part of that reason is because they don't have they have to order the blanks from their 3 providers, and even if the U.S. Mint is on top of it, maybe their 3 providers aren't necessarily the best at keeping track of inventory for the U.S. Mint. Who knows what percentage of their business is U.S. Mint business, how much they make on it, how much attention they pay on it versus their own minting. So you get into these issues where maybe they have shortfalls just because they're bottlenecks. All right, I am buying silver right now. It's so cheap, says Benzeric. Silver Fortune says, noticing pretty high premiums on silver with this dip. Thoughts on that? I think you might have seen the chart I mentioned, I put up, showing I've been tracking the American Silver Eagle premiums for the last 3 years. For me, a collector rather than a stacker, the redundant, albeit beautiful design of American Eagle is a big disadvantage, says Fiona Whalen. Yeah, and I think a lot of people that are silver, some of them, not all, but are more interested just in ounces. And you do have like the Chris Duane series. Those are all based on design. You do have private mints that try to work on making interesting designs. The U.S. Mint is probably the laziest, other than in the America the Beautiful coins, where they actually try to make a new coin every few months that piggybacks off of their quarters. But the Silver Eagle was meant to be a bullion coin, and that's it. No design. I think the only change ever made to it was in 2016 for the 30th anniversary. They put some inscriptions on the rim. Yes, Walden Tree. Bitcoin getting destroyed. Yes, I should have mentioned that at the top. Still getting destroyed. Although what you'll see in Bitcoin is that Bitcoin is holding up far better than all of the other tokens. Ethereum down 25%, correct. All right, well, looks like that's it for the questions tonight. I want to thank everyone for joining in. Don't forget to order your Smaulgld mugs. I'll make another mug run tomorrow. You can get your Smaulgld Classic and Super Classic mug with free shipping. I'll give you the link there. Let me show you, for those people who don't know about the mugs, you can go just to the Smaulgld channel and you can hear 18 reasons why you should buy and hoard mugs. It's very important to know mugs are real money. But let me show you what you can order directly from the Smaulgld headquarters. They are the 2 mugs. I shipped them directly from here. And I will put in a Smaulgld Game Changer Eraser at the top. You can see the, it hasn't come up yet, but maybe it has. It's just not on my screen. The top mug is a Smaulgld Classic mug. That's $19.99. And the bottom mug is the Smaulgld Super Classic. That's $23.99. Free shipping anywhere in the continental U.S. And if you also enjoy these podcasts, they come every night at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. They are on YouTube, but then it gets posted pretty much immediately on YouTube and you can download it, you can share it from there, and then it's on BitChute the next day, then on Minds, Smaulgld.com, Facebook, Twitter, Gab.ai, also posted on Reel.video, and if I get around to it, it also gets posted on BitTube. So please check out Smaulgld on those alternative platforms. And also, if you do really like this channel, please consider becoming a Smaulgld patron. That's just patron.com/Smaulgld. PayPal, you can donate via paypal.me/Smaulgld, or you can donate via Bitcoin or Litecoin. I want to thank everyone for joining in tonight and for your comments, and we'll see you tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.